Good morning once again. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that yesterday was the 20th anniversary of a terrorist attack that has changed the world as we know it. And I've seen so many things as we are remembering this event. And one thing that comes up year after year are people saying, I don't want another 9/11, but we could really use another 9/12. Because the day after, Americans came together, Republican, Democrat, black, white. I don't know why I'm getting all this feedback. But everyone came together, and in coming together, we showed that we could be united as a country, as a people. And it's such a great sentiment until you realize that it's all a bunch of hogwash. Because I remember 9/12, and what I remember most about 9/12 was fear. Uncertainty. Yes, there were people who were coming together, but they were coming together against a nebulous other. What I remember from 9/12 was this fear and this coming together against a nebulous other that was then ascribed to anyone who looked vaguely Muslim. And we don't know what Muslim looks like, because there is no such thing as looking Muslim. And the things that are kind of indicative of being Muslim, we're not good at recognizing because we're an ethnocentric country and everything is all about Jesus here. And so it was the turban that was a sign, like, oh, it's the people wearing turbans. Like, well, Muslims don't wear turbans. Like, Sikh wear turbans, and they look Middle Eastern and they have turbans, and so we're against people wearing turbans, even though they weren't Muslim, they weren't that. And then we were against Muslims, which we shouldn't be against Muslims at all, because it was a terrorist group that happened to proclaim faith in Islam. That was the faith they proclaimed. But we were against Muslims as a country, and oh, you can't build a new mosque in New York City. How dare you just desecrate the memory of the lives lost by building a new mosque in New York City. You can't do it. So many people were attacked, physically attacked, who had no connection to any terrorist organization. Regular Americans saw them and said, you're a terrorist, and they were attacked, assaulted. Some people died. That was 9/12. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of unity. What we need is to stop waiting for some external force to coerce us to work together as people. For some external event, some significant thing to come and be so obvious and be like, oh, yes, of course we should work together. We could choose to work together today. If we choose that we want to benefit our fellow human beings, we can make that choice. We could wear masks. We could get vaccinated. We could maintain social distancing, avoid large gatherings. Don't spend too much time with people outside of your household. As unfortunate as it is, there are things we can do right now to care for our fellow people, and we don't need to wait for someone to tell us, or some big event to say, hey, you should care for other people. And yet, we see all too often in our country It's about me. Me. This is my right. This is my choice. This is about me. Other people can do their thing, but I should be able to do whatever I want. Because somehow the Constitution says that we can just do whatever we want at all times with no consequences. But we know that's not in the Constitution. We know that there are restrictions that are placed on our lives. Like, oh, you can't make me wear a mask. It's un-American. It's unpatriotic. You can't force me to do that. But we can make you wear clothes when you're outside in public. There are laws where you can't be walking around naked in public. It is just another piece of clothing that happens to go on the face. There's nothing in the Constitution that says we can't make people wear articles of clothing. The point is, we can come together. We can choose to work together. We can choose to work with one another. We can choose to do things that benefit our fellow human beings. And yet, day after day, there are those among us who choose not to. There are days when even those of us gathered here fall short and we do things that serve ourselves more than they serve other people. And sometimes we do things that serve ourselves at the expense of other people. And it brings to mind that passage from the epistle about the tongue blessing and praising God and simultaneously cursing people made in the likeness of God. Because as hard as it is, I know I've done it, I'm sure you have done it, but we have looked at someone who's on the opposite side of the political aisle and said a denigrating thing about them. We've said something unkind, possibly even unjust. We have cursed the image of God in that person. We have cursed the image of God. So every day we have the choice to be this ideal version of 9/12 that so many people remember. Every day we have the choice to be a people who choose to see the image of God in everyone and treat it like they are made in the image of God. Treat them as a blessed creation. Every day we can make that choice. And in just a few short moments, we're going to renew our baptismal vows, where among other things, we will say that we will respect the dignity of every human being, not the human beings that look like us, that think like us, that believe like us, that like the same gender that we do. Every human being. We will respect their dignity. We will seek justice for all people, not just the people we think are deserving, not just the people who have done nice things for us or who could benefit us. Everyone should get justice. It shouldn't matter how much money someone has, whether or not they get justice. It shouldn't matter what color their skin is, whether or not they get justice. Every single person deserves to be treated justly. And we live in a time where that's not the case. And every day, we can make the choice whether or not we're going to make a difference or rest comfortably in the status quo. Being a Christian is not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be passive. It's not something that we can just be flippant about. In the gospel this morning, Jesus said, if anyone wants to be my follower, let them take up their cross and follow me. If anyone seeks to save their life, they will lose it. But if they lose their life for my sake, they will gain it. So let's take up our cross. Let's take the first step. Let's renew the vows we made in baptism, or that were made for us in baptism. And let's let today be the beginning of something new. Let today be the beginning of a new era where we treat everyone with dignity, respect, love, kindness, compassion, and seek justice for them. Not just because we agree with them, but especially for the people we don't agree with, because they are made in the image of God too. So let us take up our cross. Let us do the hard work of following what Jesus said. And let us be made new. And let us be the people of God to show this world what love really means. Amen.